We're going to talk about investment casting, where you're going to take the plastic piece that you engraved on the laser, and we're going to then mate that up with the soft tool rubber mold of Cal Poly keychain, and inject wax into it to get our two patterns that we're going to produce your keychain with. First thing you want to do is a light spray with the silicone, and then wipe that off, and some will stay on there. And then you're going to come in and you're going to match the hole over the gate, and with the lettering then, the engraved side towards the cavity itself, put that together, and then come in and clamp that. Use this aluminum plate on the back, help distribute the clamping. Put that clamp on there about here, leaving room for that hole to reach this nozzle on the injector. Now this nozzle here is spring loaded. You push it in, it opens up, you lift it out, it shuts off. You're going to do a two-step process here. You're going to line up the hole with the nozzle. You're going to push it in, count the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, pull it back, still touching the nozzle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Roll it down, take your knife, slice that off. Alright? The reason why you want to hold it in there for the first 5 is to make sure you fill it, and you can look over the edge and see it filling through the clear acrylic. The second, when we pull it out and hold it, we want it to solidify a little bit before we release or open up the passageway outside the mold. The reason is that otherwise you can end up with a wax like this, because you put pressure in there, you got a soft mold, and it's elastic. If you release the pressure too soon, the wax will form typically on the outside, but will then shoot out, and you'll end up with a very thin and sometimes hollow piece that you can't cast. You want to have a nice thick section. Keep in mind that whatever you get on the wax is the best you're going to get in the casting. The casting process cannot heal mistakes in the wax. So you got to spend some time to make sure you get a good wax. As you see, the wax here is darker in color because it's still semi-molten, but we're going to disassemble the mold, and we'll pull this off of here, and we can leave it sit in that state, but we get a very fine detail, and once again, it's still a little dark. So as that cools, it'll get a little lighter green. So we're going to take this now, and I'm going to speed up due to our video. Just slice that a little bit back there. Once again, I'm going a little fast on this. Pull that off, make sure that this stays straight. Now sometimes you'll get coming off on the back a little nub, the injection nub there, and after this has gotten a little harder, you're going to want to come and cut that off. So now we're going to go over to our mold set. Now on our mold, you have a little flash around here you can clean off of the keychain. This one is still a little wet, but we're rushing to make this video. You have a mold set, patterns set up like this. There's 6 slots in each sprue former. You want to make sure it's pushed down all the way. 3 people on a flask, 2 keychains each, and you're going to number it. For example, this flask would be W1 for Wednesday 1, and you'll write your team members' names down, print please, on this sheet, W1, etc. Now, you're going to take this, and if you look at the keychain, you'll notice that the keychain part ends right there at the end of the thumb, and then there's a gate. You don't want to push it, as you put this in here, into the sprue former, you don't want to push it all the way down so that the keychain part hits this rubber, because that's going to be metal, and when we go to bandsaw this off, we're going to lose part of your keychain detail. So you want to have it up about quarter inch, 5/16, quarter inch, right about there. Now imagine that we have all the spaces populated, and we don't want to fill this unless they're populated, but I'm going to fill it today just to show you. We're going to, once this is ready, we're going to take the flask and push it down. Sometimes you have to peel it back a little bit, but it's got to be all the way down. Now it's all the way down. Once again, imagine there's 6 in there, none are touching the side. Alright. Then we're going to mix the plaster. You do not start mixing the plaster until your flask is ready, because the plaster will start setting up and you want to make sure that you're ready to pour it as soon as you can. So we have a container for water, fill up to that line, and plaster, fill up to the top. So we're going to take the water, fill it up to that line. It's a hot day today, so I'm going to add just a little more. And then we're going to get our plaster over here. And we fill this up to the top, and we get ready to mix. Once again, we have our flask ready to go. We take our empty bowl, put in our water first, and then we're going to just dump in the plaster and vigorously whisk it. Now, it's not a cooking class, and you're not garnishing it. I don't want you splashing everywhere, but I want you mixing this. Now, if we were doing fine detail, we would put this, after mixing for 2 minutes, under vacuum. We're not set up for that yet, so we're just going to mix like this.
What would vacuum do?
Vacuum would get the air bubbles from the mixture out. That's about enough for what we do. And then we fill this up. And we want to fill it to just beyond the top. We don't want to go all over the table, but we need to have the plaster and the meniscus of the plaster up above the top of the flask. That's very important. A little spillover like that is okay. We then take the rest of the plaster that we have, and where's our garbage can? Here it is. And dump it in there. Now, this is important. Immediately after getting most of that out, you take it over here. Do not take it to the sink. We do not throw stuff down the drain. Take the whisk and whisk it. You're just cleaning the whisk, not the bowl with that function. Take the bowl itself. Just rinse it out like that so that the next team can use it, etc. This will be allowed to set. The supervisors, after it's gelled, will take and cut this flat and scratch in W1 or whatever your team flask number is. So next week, we'll go ahead and cast these. I'm going to take these, put them in the furnace, burn them out, and cast them. If you take one last look over here, this is one that's conformed from yesterday. The sprue former the holder comes off, sprue former pulls out, and then if you look in there, you'll see the tail ends of the wax patterns that were in the rubber sprue former. I will take this, put it in the furnace, it'll set the plaster, burn off the free water, and melt out the wax. And next week we'll have these hot and we'll cast them in class. Thank you.